everybody. I'm very happy to be in Paris with you, even virtually. My name is Professor Meryem Laadem. I'm a teacher of English and Communication in the Higher School of Technology of Meknes, Moulay IsmailUniversity. My presentation is entitled Intercultural Communication and Discourse Analysis in Face-to-Face Interviews, the Case of American and British Politicians. The plan of my presentation is as it follows. Number one, background of the study. Number two, methodology. Number three, data analysis. Then I will talk about certain findings, and finally the conclusion with few ideas. The background of the study, we're analyzing the political discourse, has been subject of many controversial theories by critics and experts all over the world. Intercultural communication has typically been defined as communication between individuals from different national cultures, according to Crocher and Diaco 2015. So intercultural communication is a scientific field whose object of interest is the interaction speak and listen, according to Dodd 1991. Well, my paper aims to highlight the challenges related to the various communication styles, the cultural differences, and the context in which the content discourse is supposed to transmit specific messages to the public. And also, it targets or it tries to reconsider some of the intercultural dimensions and to show the necessity of the intercultural competence in the political discourse. Intercultural communication as a field of study has been how misunderstanding can be prevented. This is stated by Hazarty and Aliareza in 2015. Well, there is an emerging need to reconsider interviewing as a research tool with a focus on the interview participants' subjectivities and the subsequent interplay with data collection and making meaning. So in order to conduct a kind of discourse analysis of intercultural communication, 5 randomly found interviews from the YouTube channel were chosen between the years 2004 and 2008 for Mrs. Theresa May, George Bush, and Mr. Boris Johnson. Those 4 representatives for the political interview. A qualitative analysis of the political answers was performed in which each of the interviewees' turn was divided into a number of transcribed segments based on typology of Hall 1976. Hall in 1976 put in a discourse along a dimension spanning from the high context or the low context category to the low context or the high content category. The assumption that language use in interviews is highly expected to be influenced by numerous variables such as social order, conversational style, cultural expectations, and norms. A growing body of studies have been conducted recently by researchers from a variety of disciplines. These researchers have used discourse analysis to describe the language use in news interviews, focusing on a narrative Heritage and Claimant again, Neutrality Claimant 2002, Bull 1994, and Institutional Conditions, Heritage and Grutbad 1991. Though it's very difficult to analyze the political discourse. Well, the data analysis. So I tried to collect, well, first of all, I tried to uh, make a sort of transcription for the audio of the interviewees and the interviewers. So those interviews were the sample data that I have collected from the YouTube channel. Now, among the reply strategies, according to Bull and Mayer's typology, a non-reply would be through attacking the question, considering it not legitimate or not appropriate, or using evasion. The second excerpt, Boris Johnson. Let's be clear. Of course, I understand there are problems in the Middle East, and I'm fully aware of the efforts that's still in there to bring peace to Middle East. You will be hearing more about from the UK government. Three distinguishes overlaps and interruptions. By overlap, we mean talk by more than one speaker at a time, involving a second one speaking while a first one was already speaking, and that the second one has projected his talk to begin at a possible completion point of the prior speaker's talk. If that's apparently the case, if, for example, his start is in the environment of what the case, if, for example, his start is in the environment of what could have been a completion of the prior speaker's turn, then we speak of it as an overlap. If it is projected to begin in the middle of a point that is no way a possible completion point for the turn, then we speak of it as an interruption. Completed by Bennett, 1981. So interruptions, on other hand, violate the turn-taking rules, which dictate that transitions from one speaker to another should occur at transitional points, TRP, or at possible completion points mentioned by Zimmerman and West in 1975. Interruptions, some examples. You're trying to get me to predict the elections, and I'm not gonna do it. Cultural empathy. Excerpt number 5. Boris, I understand there are problems in the Middle East. My friends, I hope we could intensify this friendship and this partnership in the weeks, months, and years ahead. The 6th excerpt. Theresa May. People say that I gave up too much and I compromised too much. I don't recognize myself in some of the descriptions that people give of me. Excerpts. Bush, I'm proud of the relationship between the United States and Australia. It is a relationship based upon our common values. It is a relationship based on economic traits, and it's really a good relationship. Collectivism and individualism. The 8th excerpt. Boris, but we believe, I certainly believe, that we could be more engaged than before with the Arab world. Boris, that we do not allow the Middle East and the Arab world in the eyes of the British public to be defined by their. This is a huge responsibility. Excerpt number 9. Obama, it is not my intent, My intent is to represent my country in important meetings in a country that I admire a lot. So high context cultures tend to be collectivism, while low context cultures tend to be individualistic. Well, according to the findings of my study, as shown in the examples listed before, the interviewees use different strategies to answer the questions from their own political and cultural point of view. Similarly, the intercultural communication can be considered as a competence through which the interviewees reply whether intentionally or unintentionally. And this competence is not really acquired by all politicians, means that not all politicians all over the world, especially in the British and American context, not everyone is acquiring this competence of delivering certain answers and replies to which are really suitable to the cultural context. The study has shown that the comparison between the British and the American politicians through their discourse analysis or high culture context or low context culture based on the scale suggested by Hall 1990. And this is the context that Hall suggested. So in high context cultures, you will find Japan number one, then Arab countries, then you have Greece, Spain, Italy, England in the middle, you have France below, North America, Scandinavian countries, German speaking countries, which are really close to. But to conclude, this study, which aims to explore the intercultural discourse in the political discourse of some British and American politicians. The close analysis and description conducted in this paper yields a number of important findings that could shed light or some light on the patterns of language use by English and American politicians within interviews, within political interviews. The examination involved the study of the use of intercultural communication in affecting the linguistic process. However, as the nonverbal communication in the form of facial expressions or gestures, as well as the interactional context, which are mostly powerful or presented in high context, which takes into account factors such as cultural background, pre-existing knowledge, place, time, and gender. Well, those are some of the references that I used through my study. I hope that uh, you are all